Hello everyone. This video is a video to unite us all so that we feel connected with one another. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, it doesn't matter what we do for a living, it doesn't matter what we've done in the past, good or bad. It doesn't matter what we're currently doing, what we think we're going to do, what our emotional state is. We want to unite. So as you're watching this video, I want you on a subtle level to imagine everybody in the world. It can just be a thought of everybody in the world, but just know that there's all these souls, and all these souls are doing different things, cooking, going out and, doing some exercise, looking after their kids, arguing with people. Maybe they're ill, maybe they're in hospital, maybe they're driving their car, maybe they're in Africa, maybe they're in London, maybe they're in Iceland, maybe they're in America. There's all these people, just bodies going around. So on one level, we have all these little bits of consciousness moving around, doing random things. But on another level, these bits of consciousness are Satchit Ananda, like bliss consciousness. So when we drop the body, we become bliss consciousness. When we have a body, we go around doing things like on a path basically to nowhere, because we all drop our bodies and become bliss consciousness. And if we're lucky, we get a connection with bliss consciousness while we're in the body. And that connection with bliss consciousness allows us to feel empathy, to feel connected to people, to realize that there's not really a difference. There's a superficial difference. And when we see people as bliss consciousness rather than what they're doing and what they're not doing and the way they look and all of the superficial things, then we can feel less lonely and we can plug in and feel connected. And love connects us to another human being. Compassion connects us to another human being. So when we start to lose compassion for another human being, when we start to only think of ourselves or just see things from our point of view without listening to another person, where we're just in it for what we can get out of the other person, kind of like we just want to grasp and grab as much as we can from the physical kingdom without considering whether we're grabbing too much or whether it's affecting a certain group. When we do things like that, when we act in a selfish nature, it is due to childhood wounding, it's due to ignorance, and we can have compassion for those people who get into those states. But for us to connect with people who are de-stressing, who are acting out, not knowing that they are interconnected with everything else, we can have a tendency to want to hate them, to want to judge them, to want to destroy them because we feel destroyed by them or hurt by them. And so it can lead to a clash. It can lead to a clash, and then the clash can escalate. And everybody thinks that they are doing the right thing and post-rationalizes why they're doing the right thing. And then it all just explodes, and then there's a reset. But I want to hold space for a reset without such a clash. Maybe there's a world where we don't need to keep escalating and crashing because the humanity has a way of just repeating and not learning from its mistakes. And usually after war, there's peace because everything escalates, it blows up, and then there's a reset. But what if we can reset without the escalation and the crash? What if we can, right now, even though we have differences with people, even though people are irritating us, even though we might think we're in the right and they're in the wrong, what if we can be open to a dialogue? And when I say a dialogue, I don't mean a verbal dialogue, a non-verbal dialogue with the bits of consciousness that we feel are dysregulated. And we're not here to judge, we're here to find another way so we don't have to keep repeating the crash. And a way of doing that is to be open to everybody. Doesn't mean we don't set boundaries if they're going to, attack us, and we may need to move away from a situation or do what we need to do to stay safe. But what if we're open to listening to another person? And sometimes people say things they don't mean. So they might say things that they want you to get upset about. They might say things to trigger you. And you might take the bait and then do something to respond because you've been triggered. And then we're in the same cycle. It just keeps going up and there'll be a crash. But what if we just pause and understand, oh, this person's trying to trigger me. This person's trying to get me to get upset. What if we pause and we have compassion for that person? Because a person that's trying to trigger another person is actually self-harming, because there isn't a difference between you and I, or me and anyone else, or you and anyone else in reality. So if somebody is trying to attack someone else, it's actually a form of self-harm. So if somebody's self-harming and acting out, they're destroying themselves. So they're on some weird suicide mission. So when people are on weird suicide mission, because anything they do to somebody else, they do to themselves. So it's all a form of suicide. So what if we see those people that are on suicide missions, that are trying to harm other people? What if we see them as in need of help? And it doesn't mean that we go when we say you need to get some help. This is not a verbal thing. This is a non-verbal thing. It's an energetic thing. What if we have compassion? Because if we meet them with love and compassion, then that creates the reset, because love and compassion are a stronger vibration than anything else, any other negative vibration. Love and compassion will destroy all of the negative tendencies. And so if enough of the bits of consciousness move into a more compassionate, loving space, even towards people who they perceive as wanting to harm them, even if they're able to forgive it, they're able to take a leap and understand these people are not well. And if we can find it within our human nature somewhere to muster up empathy for those people, if enough people do that, there will be no war. There will not be the need to escalate and crash. But we all want revenge. And we know Gandhi said this, an eye for an eye, and the whole world will be blind. And you say to me, but they did this to me and I have so much anger within me. That's fine. You can use the anger as a meditation. You can go into the anger, release the anger. You can go into the sadness, you can release the sadness. And I've done other videos on how to do that, and body scanning and being with those emotions. But as the human species evolves, if it doesn't want to become extinct, it will have to stop destroying its species and the planet. And we can't keep repeating this, because as technology gets more advanced, there's going to be ways of destroying the planet very easily. And we need to wake up. We need to wake up. This is self-harm. And the planet is our own body. There is no difference. It's like on one level we think that we're not the planet and we're just a human. That's wrong. You're the planet. You're the other person. You're the cat. You're the dog. You're the bird. You're the worm. You're the sun. You're the stars. There's nothing but you. So stop harming yourself. And even if you don't know it from direct experience, if you have your empathy intact, you can intuit it. And some people have lost their empathy completely. It doesn't mean that it won't come back. People who lose their empathy, they can restore their empathy if people stop judging them, if people stop attacking them for having no empathy, if people start just vibrating in a frequency of so much love that it doesn't matter anymore, and they're contained by the protection of the love field, because nature works in very mysterious ways. Sometimes we get super empathetic children that become super empaths because they were in traumatic families. And isn't that ironic that a family that was very dysregulated and angry and upset and doing horrific things created a child that was a super empath? And we have autistic people. We have people who are coming in from higher planets. We have higher beings that want to come into the planet, but are just waiting for the vibration to rise a bit more, for the empathy to rise a bit more, and then they can take their soul into the bodies of mothers. So there's help that wants to come in. The help you can get right now is not entertaining negativity. And the Bhagavad Gita talks about this. It says, never entertain negativity. And if you can wake up every day and really just say, today is the day where I'm not going to entertain negativity, where I'm not going to slag people off, where I'm not going to think I'm better than other people, where I'm not going to complain, where I'm going to hold a space where if I want to do that, I notice it and say, that's not going to lead to peace for me or other people. Maybe there's a world where I can actually be peaceful and forgive people and vibrate love into the world, vibrate compassion into the world, and do whatever you need to do. Look into your child's eyes, look into your pet's eyes. I personally, I love watching wedding vows. I got into a high, blissed out state the other day just by watching couples say their wedding vows to one another. And it was making me cry because they were so selfless. They were so courageous. They were transformed by love. And when people go into marriage and they go into it for the right reasons, so they're not going into it for a business, or I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm talking about the love marriages. If you are able to devote yourself to somebody and somebody else is able to devote themselves to you, you become like a microcosm of heaven on earth, and you vibrate as a couple, peace into the atmosphere. So if we can find somebody that we can trust and that they can trust, and we can devote and promise to be the best version of ourselves for each other, that's a way of also creating an atmosphere where there's less war. And if we look at our relationships and there's war in our relationships, then that's going to be reflected out in society, because everything's a microcosm of the macrocosm. So you can scan your relationships and you can think, where am I at war? Who am I at war with? Which friend am I not speaking to? Which person have I hurt? Where's all of the conflict in my life? How can I make peace? Because you can't have peace in the greater world if you have conflict in your life. Who can I forgive? So just take a moment just now to scan through your life and choose somebody who there's conflict with. It doesn't have to be massive conflict. It could be somebody in the office that said something that annoyed you and now you just don't want to talk about them and you're slagging them off behind their back. It can be minor. It doesn't have to be something big that somebody's done and that you having difficulty forgiving. It can be small, but just take a moment to scan through your life and see who who can I forgive? And I'm asking you, the next time you see them, to be nice to them. And instead of slagging them off or saying something negative or talking about them behind their back or complaining endlessly about them, let it go. And in the letting of it completely go, you've created more peace on earth. And if we all start to just let things go, we can all rise up and create a more peaceful place. And this is contagious. The more you realize, oh, I get relief when I let go of resentment. I get relief when I let go of judgment. I get relief when I let go of thinking I'm better than the other person. I get relief when I feel connected again to people. The more you start getting the benefits, the release, the expansion, the heart space opening, the more you'll start to do it, and it will reinforce, 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 and you will climb up into Sat Chit Ananda, eternal bliss consciousness. Because you can't do it on your own. Because you aren't an individual. You can only get into bliss consciousness through treating other people the way you would want to be treated yourself. It's all you. There's nothing but the self. So if you want to attain contentment and see clearly from a unity perspective, which is the only correct perspective there is, then we have to stop having all of these troubles with other people, these resentments. There's no time for it. Where is the time for it? There's no time for it. There's not any time to waste. And so I pray that we can all have the capacity to let go of things in the past that have hurt us, and to love one another, and to reconnect with one another, and to not feel lonely, and to rise up and to be the best human species we can, and take care of each other and take care of the planet, and hold space for those people that are so hurt and wounded that they've lost their empathy. May we pray for those people. May we send them loving light rather than hate.